You're probably aware that when you say no to other people, they can have an intense emotional reaction. But what you might not be aware of is while they're having their reaction, you are also having an emotional reaction. And it might be the case that your biggest obstacle in learning to keep your no, to protect your yes, is learning to tolerate the emotions that you're experiencing when you say no. Hi everybody, this is Greg from Heart Tools, where we make it simple to build great relationships. The biggest obstacle that you might be facing in learning to use your no to protect your yes is not the intense emotional reaction that other people have when you say no to them. Your biggest obstacle might be the emotions that surface inside of you whenever you try to use your no. Because here's what happens quite a bit, is we try to say no to someone. We want to use our no to protect our power, but that no can surface some pretty intense feelings inside of us that feel scary, and they feel yicky, and they feel painful, and we don't like them. It could be feelings like fear or guilt or shame, and they surface. And all we want is for that pain to go away. And the easiest way to make that intolerable experience go away is to simply turn our no into a yes. For example, you might be feeling some fear when you say no to someone, and the fear may be something like, I'm afraid what this person's going to think of me if I say no. I'm afraid of what this person is going to tell other people about me when I say no. Or it may be a pretty intense fear, like, I'm afraid if I say no to this person, they'll leave, right? And we're not really aware on a conscious level that we've decided we have no power in this relationship, that we're just hangers on. And when we do that, when we allow that fear to take away our no, we deprive ourselves of a couple opportunities. The first is to discover that the person really does love us for who we are, that they will love and respect our no as much as they love and respect our yes. And that's a great thing to learn, but we can only learn it if we tolerate that fear long enough to let them make their decision. The other thing we deprive ourselves is the opportunity to discover that no, they don't love and respect our no. That part of the deal of this relationship is I have no power, or I have very little power. I have the power that the other person decides that I can have. And so we deprive ourselves of the opportunity of discovering that, and then just saying, you know what, this is not a relationship that I'm going to invest in. I would rather, if I'm going to discover that a relationship is not great, I'd rather discover it sooner rather than later. And so tolerating your fear when you say no can do some good things for you. And by the way, if the fear that you're experiencing is really more about your physical safety, like you feel really in danger for saying no, then that is definitely a relationship that you don't want to be in. That's a destructive relationship. And so I would suggest, getting all the help you need, whether it's police, whether it's friends, whether it's a counselor. Get some help getting out of that relationship. You don't need to be in a relationship where you fear for your physical safety. Sometimes the emotion that surfaces when we try to say no is guilt. For example, let's say your son asks you for something, and you need to say no because you know it's not a good idea, and you're using your no to protect your yes, but in the back of your mind, you're also feeling guilty because you promised your son you'd be at his last 3 baseball games, and you broke every one of those promises. And so there's a part of you that says, I'll just get rid of this feeling of guilt by saying yes here, when in reality, those two things are separate, right? Guilt is a sign that you have damaged a relationship and you need to do some repair work. You need to apologize for missing the games. You need to make amends. You need to make new promises and keep those promises to reestablish trust. That work isn't going to be done by just giving into a request that you know is not a good thing. And on the other hand, you need to maintain your no to protect your yes, because losing your yes is not going to help restore the relationship. Another really powerful emotion that can arise when we want to say no is the emotion of shame, because shame says either there is something about me that is unlovable, or if it like blossoms and grows, then shame says I'm unlovable. And an unlovable person doesn't get to have a yes to protect, right? Who am I to have this yes and say no to other people? And that shame can be very powerful, very painful. And the problem with maintaining our no there is it forces us to continue to feel that shame, which is almost unbearable. So if that's you, I would really suggest that you identify that and get someone to talk to about that. But here's the reality. The world does not need your shame. The world needs your yes. The world needs for you to be the unique person that you were designed and created to be, with your unique passions and values and goals and dreams and vision. That's what's going to help the world, and not your shame. And so here's the simple step I would encourage you to practice to strengthen your ability to use your no to protect your yes. And that is to identify the feelings that crop up inside of you whenever you say no to someone. Identify those feelings. Identify, is this guilt? Is this shame? Is this fear? And you might want to make some plans to deal with that in another relationship, in a counseling relationship, in a small group that you belong to, in a friendship. Talk that out. That's a good thing to do. But in terms of this practice, what I would like for you to do whenever you say no and those pop up is simply to identify them and learn to tolerate feeling them. Learn to tell yourself, I can feel afraid for the next 10 minutes. I can feel shame for the next 10 minutes. I can endure this emotion while this person is going through their grief cycle, right? Their grief process and coming to acceptance. They're doing that hard work. The hard work I have to do is simply to tolerate this emotion long enough for them to get there. If you do, you will have a relationship where there is equal power, and that's a great relationship to be in. So practice that. Simple steps. Practice, practice, practice. That's what Heart Tools is all about.